Willkommen. 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 Das ist Richard S.
Hello.
Hi, this is Louis, and that was Dr. Richard Landy Jones Futrell. We call him
right.
Richard LJ for LiveJournal. And this is
right.
Clever to the Orbit. So
I'm like
I
a walking, talking LiveJournal.
I heard recently
different than usual. Oh, go ahead.
That struggle is pointless. So I'm going to cease struggling, and I'm going to let you go first.
If my voice sounds different than usual, it's because today I'm Dark Richard.
I hear you were recently taken over by nanites, created by a super intelligence from the future.
It was actually microparticles on an airplane that infiltrated my upper respiratory system and started reconfiguring it to produce mucus in order to spread itself to other people and reproduce itself and continue the cycle going.
That's just so cool.
Yeah, real cool.
I mean, terrifying.
So cold, you would even call it.
So cool. Ha ha, cold. So, yeah, this one was good. Perpetual Infinity. I mean, like, there's not much that I could do with that title, sadly. Kind of bothers me that what's his name? That was Stamets, what he came up with. But whatever. Yeah, it was good. It was entertaining.
I enjoyed it. I have to say I got a little confused about, who was trying to do what and what the plan was.
This is not uncommon.
Okay, so let's work it out. So they're trying to upload the data into the suit and send the suit into the future. Why can't they send Dr. Burnham in the suit too?
Because they don't want to send her off to be by herself forever.
I mean, she wants to go.
Well, she doesn't want to go by the end of the episode.
Yeah, by the end.
Because she loves her daughter. So, yeah, I mean, it was convoluted by many accounts, but I thought this whole thing was interesting at the end. Uh-oh. It sounds like you just attacked a bunch of stuff in a closet.
Yeah?
Yes. Did you win?
I heard nothing.
Hear no evil. So my favorite lines were the following three. Faith is not a strategy.
Yeah, that's something Michael Burnham needs to learn.
Yeah. Time's motion is relative. That was interesting. These writers keep trying to approach something interesting to say about time, and I think they might have, maybe not. And then Hamlet, hell yeah.
Nice.
That I appreciated. Then, the moments of compassion for me were the way they gently hold space for and listen to Burnham in the very beginning. Like, she is so tortured and confused. She's like, no, my mother died. This poor... See, I mean, the plot of Discovery so far could basically be summarized as how much shit can we put Michael Burnham through?
It's always
how painful and difficult can we make... Yeah, well, how painful and difficult can we make her life?
Not just her, other people too.
Yeah. So, but having them be compassionate towards her, that was nice. Like realizing, all right, she's dealing with this stuff. We need to help her, do our best to make sure it's not super painful.
I can empathize with, finding out your mother, who you thought was dead, is actually a time-traveling entity from the future that's been watching you your entire life. it's quite an acting, but what do you think Sonequa Martin Green puts herself through in order to act? Actors always think of extreme emotional events to make themselves cry or whatever.
I think she vividly imagines that this situation is happening. I think, yeah. Whatever she does, it works. She's excellent. I buy whatever she's selling, generally speaking. And of course, the other moment of compassion was this with her mother, where Dr. Burnham, the Gabrielle Burnham, is resigned and cynical about the possibility of allowing herself to be with her daughter, and has gone numb, and then her daughter sort of reactivates her love, and it's a subtle thing, and some might say it's part of Discovery's penchant for milking things for melodrama, but we know from seeing people transform in professional level courses that's actually, it takes something, and it's a pretty worthwhile thing. It's noteworthy, it's significant, it's non-trivial. So I felt something at that, and though it strikes me that Burnham's mom, maybe she's just a couple years older than when Burnham lost her. It doesn't seem like, if you've got a suit, with quantum computing, almost infinite processing power, it seems like those jumps could have been 3 or 4 a day. Reasonably, and that she could have basically computed and done most of the jumps involving her daughter in a week or two. She could basically have been present for most of those things. And she also must have some kind of a camouflage thing or a stealth mode, because in order to see that dress that Burnham was wearing, she had to have been really close.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
The stealth mode would have been useful when she was going back to save Burnham from the torture device.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because then they wouldn't have caught her. Oh, so maybe they didn't. Maybe it didn't have that. Maybe her sensor range was just really long. So other quotes, I really appreciated. I like science. It was right on the periphery of what I think I would expect or find acceptable from Spock, but it was good. It seems like it would have been more appropriate in the mouth of Stamets or Tilly, but that, and then what I really appreciated that I knew you probably wouldn't appreciate, or probably would really appreciate, was Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu.
Yeah, he had a real interesting pronunciation on that.
Lao Tzu. So that wasn't accurate?
No.
Oh. How do you actually
pronounce
that then?
Lao Tzu.
Lao Tzu. I like the Z sound. It's really satisfying. It's like a shuttlecraft landing. Lao Tzu. But maybe he mispronounces things as a result of his dyslexia.
Yeah.
It's interesting to note that Spock is basically a disabled person.
Yep.
Spock is a specially abled person. A differently abled person. What's that?
He gets to check some check boxes now.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't. For the rest of his life, I'm pretty sure he does not share with anybody because of his pride. His pride in being Vulcan.
Apparently,
you see it all throughout the original series.
Magical powers, too.
Yeah, actually. People who, what do you call it, are in wheelchairs or have been in horrible accidents necessitating them using bionic augmentations. Even Tilly, like all of these disabled people.
What's Tilly's ailment?
I
Autism?
Social inadequacy. No. I mean, actually, she might be. She might map as autistic. That might be what's going on there. Because she does say things at inappropriate times and speak a little too long without permission or clear indication that anyone cares to hear. She's brilliant and really clever. I think she's emotional in proper measure, though, so that would discount the theory. Anyway, I'm kidding. I was kidding on her. They had her turn super mature earlier this season, and then they have moments like the one in this episode where everybody's like, where they basically ignore her. Like, yeah. Thank you. Saru doesn't even say thank you, Tilly. Whereas I think the earlier Saru would have. He's more forceful in a subtle way, too.
He doesn't take bullshit anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't waste time. So one thing that I also appreciated was Leland's transformation. And, you know, as I was watching this, I thought, this is probably what happens when Richard bites into a bunch of soggy cereal.
No, that's what happens when I wake up.
No, it's actually what happens when I eat gluten. Yeah, and the music throughout this is excellent. Hugh Culber's haircut is silly, and then his sudden dramatic transition back into being like a medical guy full time is strange. I guess they were just like, well, I guess he's. And you know what? Maybe he did just decide, all right, well, I'm going to do what I did before, and it doesn't matter. It's okay. Like, I'm choosing it.
They're just like, you know, it'll work.
Well, it's Heimlich now. It was either what's the German word for authentic that Heidegger uses?
Oh, I don't know. Heimlich?
Heimlich? Yeah,
I didn't know that translated as authentic. That doesn't really mean authentic. Heimlich is like the
Heimlich maneuver. Excuse me.
No, that's the person who had that name. No, Heimlich is like something that hits close to home.
You know what? Eigentlich.
What? Oh, eigentlich. Yeah, that means actually.
It supposedly it means really or truly, but it's built on the stem eigen, meaning own or proper.
Yeah, so own it. That means actually.
Okay. Eigen is owned.
Yeah.
Uneigentlich is unowned.
Yeah.
So I think he's owned from the inside the elements of his own life, which is a very interesting move to make. This is where existential philosophy really makes a difference, is when you're confronted by inhabiting an alienated experience of your own existence, including your memories. Like, he could have either been like, well, I don't know what's true, angst. Or he could have chosen, just, all right, well, I've been thrown, basically, to take another one of Heidegger's terms, into this type of existence, and I'm going to choose to own it, and that's okay. So, yeah, that's the thing.
The existentialists prepare you for Star Trek Discovery.
They prepared Culver for his life.
You think he's been doing some reading?
Maybe that was what happened. Maybe that's how he solved his problem. And maybe his haircut is a result of that reading.
I think he just did a lot of CBT. He did a lot of, cognitive restructuring exercises.
Oh, I thought you said, cannabidiol.
Oh, CBD. CBD, too. We haven't seen any, whether they use cannabinoids on Star Trek yet. They might in this universe.
I bet they're all actually consuming cannabinoids that are integrated into their diet, like healthy non-THC cannabinoids.
I think they're all high all the time.
Not high, just healthy. I'm pretty
Got
sure,
that CBD glow.
So Sam once famously said, as an argument to investors to put money into brain juice, that we can't really go back from this market trend towards more interest in health consciousness. Like we aren't suddenly going to hallucinate away the fact that high fructose corn syrup or added sugar or GMO foods have negative impacts on people. And I think this is suggested by the fact that there's this one episode where Tilly's like, she wants to order something from the computer, and it tells her, well, this is, it tells her the nutritional content or something. And so it seems like that's a thing that they care about. And so if cannabinoids and our endogenous cannabinoid system can be considered or integrated into holistic health or whatever, this is a whole question. Like, what does Star Trek think about what it means to be healthy in the future? And clearly they still have like gyms and nutritional content matters. And
have we seen them working out at a gym?
Was who? What?
I guess they use the holodeck as a gym in The Next Generation sometimes.
Yeah, they do.
Or they use it for other kinds of exercise.
They also have the
like sex.
The people, yes, they do. But they have people running around the ship. We've seen that several times so far. Yeah. So anyway, it was interesting that we got an explanation for Terralicium, basically put there by Burnham's mom to prove that she could change the future. In a very minor way.
Yeah.
Very strange, minor way. And it was also interesting she doesn't know where the signals come from. Because I think that the signals probably aren't being generated by Control. I don't think so.
Huh.
I thought they were being generated by the Red Angel, but like she's the Red Angel and she doesn't know about them. So
there's another entity in the future.
Yeah. That happens to love the color red.
Blue Angel. And maybe that's Michael Burnham.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's Michael Burnham's father.
Maybe it's just their whole family is committed to saving things.
That's right, the Burnhams.
Back to the Burnhams show.
Keeping the universe alive with the Burnhams.
So a couple random thoughts. There wasn't enough Pike in this episode. I really love Pike. And there was like a Voyager or Next Generation movie noise on the bridge early on that I appreciated.
Yeah.
And then, I found some good stuff in here. But I'm saving it. The last random things are atemporal dysplasia. That was pretty cool. That's a cool concept. And then it seems like that device that was in Ash's hand was really loud. Like I was surprised nobody heard it working.
So did Burnham's mother just get blown into space in the future?
Yes, she's dead.
That's quite a way to go, man.
No, I'm pretty sure it sent her to a planet.
Okay.
Otherwise,
then she can get in the suit again.
Won't go anywhere. Yeah, then she can get back in the suit. She can spend 50 to 100 years trying to figure out how to repair it or something. And then eventually can go back in time as a really old grandmother. Or as an old person.
So if they change the future now, will she end up in the new timeline, or will she just be trapped forever in the future where everyone is dead?
I think she's going to be trapped.
Pretty bad, man.
Yeah. So the core of this episode that makes it interesting are basically two different questions, maybe three different questions. One is, how might the experience of time travel warp a person's mind and soul? Like, how might their entire psyche be messed up by the experience of time travel? And she's got a very specific situation because she's fighting an artificial superintelligence, Burnham's mother. But she hardens, and the opening up of her willingness to feel her own feelings, and then to have some variety of compassion that is not abstract but is like personal, or to admit the existence of that, is the narrative thrust of the episode. So it's an interesting angle on compassion, actually, because can one have sort of rigorous, hardened love for all sentient life, basically, or some mass of people, right? We can't keep track mentally of more than 50, right? Is that like anthropologically, neurologically
it's
true?
like 200. Dunbar's number. It's around 200.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. So, could one's generalized compassion ultimately harm one's ability to, or hamper one's ability to have direct individual compassion? And so that this whole theme of moments of compassion gets kind of thrown for a loop. Whereas, usually it's pretty simple. Usually it's, we don't want to harm this species, so we're going to do what fits with our empathy. And the other two questions are these temporal dynamics. We've never seen them before anywhere else in Star Trek. This whole idea of an anchor and being pulled back to a specific point in time, and even the idea of her being stuck to a certain point in time, 950 years in the future. Like, time travel has never worked this way before, so there must be something special. And I'm curious what you think about that. What might be going on there?
I mean, I'm wondering why she isn't chilling on the time ship Relativity.
Yeah, why isn't Relativity actually observing all of this?
Yeah, or shouldn't they be on her mission?
Maybe this all resolves just between Discovery and Burnham's mother. So the only kinds of temporal incursions are the ones that happen and then don't get resolved and then propagate through the timeline to the point of the 29th century. Does that make sense? Kind of?
Only the ones that are not resolved propagate. What do you mean by resolved?
Well, by the end of this season, Alex Kurtzman tells people this will be resolved, and it will actually be resolved to the satisfaction of all of those who've had complaints about things not fitting into the original series canon.
Yeah,
so I don't know what that means.
Now, there is no USS Relativity because there's no life in the future. So once we get back on the rails, where we're in the timeline where there is life, then the Relativity shows up and goes around. But from the Relativity's perspective, these timelines are outside of its scope.
Yeah. Yes. Something like that is what I think the explanation is for why the Relativity and the Aeon and Braxton and all of them aren't involved. And
wouldn't it be cool if they do show up, though?
It would. I would love that. If they got those same actors as well.
But aged.
Or even made to look younger. I mean, because Braxton went straight to prison after the last episode that we saw with him.
Maybe he broke out.
There's a whole web series, actually. It's called Star Trek Series ? And you should
Star
totally...
Trek Braxton.
It's all about Captain Braxton. And it's really good. In fact, it might be worth it to go back and read, because it's kind of the most humorous Star Trek series on the internet. It's one of those that you're just like, what the heck? What's going on? I don't understand this. I'm trying to find it for us. Star Trek Minutiae. Star Trek Minutiae. I'm going to talk about this for a second. This is really cool. What's it about, you might ask? Start with Captain Braxton, commander of the 29th century time ship USS Relativity-G, the 7th or 8th time ship to bear the name, and quite possibly the stupidest Starfleet type ship captain in history. And in a ragtag crew recruited from throughout the Star Trek timeline, or add in, pit them against the evil crew of the evil Excelsior, commanded by Captain Braxton's evil temporal clones, old Captain Braxton, young Psycho Braxton, and old Psycho Braxton. Mix in bizarre alternative timelines, irrelevant and irreverent guest characters from a multitude of sci-fi universes, and a few dangling plot threads from previous Trek series, and you end up with a parody that's quite possibly the funniest and most mind-bending tale in all of Star Trek.
Sounds
It's apparently still going.
And it reminds me of the notion of temporal psychosis.
Exactly.
That's what Dr. Burnham's experiencing. TP.
Well,
as they call it.
Oh yeah, maybe it's just straight up temporal psychosis.
Yeah, you know, as we've already characterized before. As is already well studied in the medical textbooks. Temporal psychosis.
So the music in this episode was excellent. The music I absolutely loved. And then finally, let's talk about control. Like this is the most brilliant, interesting point of the episode. Perhaps we should have led with this. Leland has this eerie not gazing enough into people's eyes thing going on. Like it really fits with the way you'd expect an AI.
So I think I told you about this already. You know that site, This Person Does Not Exist, where the AI generated faces?
Yeah.
One of the ways you can tell they're fake is that their eyes are not quite right. They're just a little bit misaligned.
Oh, interesting. So maybe an AI would not be able to produce the facades of eye motions or facial expression, including eye contact with the proper frequency.
That's something they have trouble with.
Because looking at us makes them uncomfortable.
Well, eye contact is super important for our social cognition. Other animals don't make eye contact in the way humans do. It's a big, evolutionary step.
Well, which is ironic because the other thing that I found to be interesting in this episode was that the central issue is control basically breaking down the distinction between normal and artificial intelligence, or human and technological intelligence. And the question then becomes, would it actually be a better survival of what we are into the future for an artificial intelligence to live on instead of us? And what would that mean, and how would that work? And also, why would it kill off? I mean, I guess it's just evil, and it thinks that it is life. And on some level, maybe it reinterpreted. We've tread this a little bit before, but I'll go deeper around it. It reinterpreted the meaning of what living beings are to redefine life as itself, and to eliminate anything that might be a threat unto itself, in order that it flourish. And so, I mean, and then, you know, it's also really cool to have an AI that could instantiate through multiple independent iterations and locations, like cloud-based artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's really cool. It's an interesting idea, and I don't think it's been as fleshed out as interestingly as this before. maybe in the novel Section 31 Control, which is really well done. I restarted it recently, and it's very satisfying. Yeah. So should we yield the floor to the ASI, and what would that look like, and how would this all work?
I think it's pretty clear that Neo Captain Leland is not very healthy. Well, he seems like his skin suit's going to fall apart in a few hours.
Yeah.
We should never yield the floor to AI.
Well, I don't mean personally. I mean as a species. I don't mean individually. Individually, we'd never actually want to or be able to. We'd experience it much as Leland did as a murder. Like,
I mean, look, do you want your children to exist in the future?
Yeah.
Your actual children that came forward from you and not from some machine, some piece of metal?
Okay,
you know, I've been calling for the Butlerian Jihad. You know where I stand on this. Thou shalt not make a machine in the image of a man's mind. It's unholy. It's a perversion.
And this I hear was actually the entirety of your campaign platform for governor of California recently.
Oh, it's the snowball's growing.
You should start by. Wouldn't it be awesome if someone actually ran for not governor, but just city council, and their whole platform was, we need to eliminate all artificial intelligence.
We shouldn't eliminate all of it. I've been thinking about, what's the boundary? As long as the machines are serving man and not man serving the machines.
I just think it's hilarious, this idea of this disproportionate concern with a species-wide issue.
Oh, you think it's disproportionate?
No, seriously, you got to follow me. You got to follow me, like somebody running for city council for Orleans Parish, saying not addressing any of the issues of Orleans Parish, running entirely on the basis
of a massive existential threat to humanity.
Yes, exactly.
Talking to garbage truck groups and stuff.
Vote for me, and I will fight artificial superintelligence in all of its forms.
That's right.
and then people coming to council meetings to learn about this guy, and they ask questions like, "So I got your concern with artificial superintelligence, but what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do about the trash?" And he just ignores them. I don't know. This totally came out of left field, Richard.
This could be a good meme.
This could be a great meme. We should totally make a video.
We should totally run for office.
You should run for office, because you can do it in a serious way, and you can convince people to vote for you on the basis of this existential threat. Woo. And you could put together a campaign video with entirely clips of Discovery and Terminator. In fact, I could see the campaign video now, showing that opening sequence from Terminator 2: Judgment Day, where it's like a Terminator crushing a skull. Do you want this to be your future?
I'd like to just, for this moment, I'd like to plug my Twitter account, Butlerian Jihad Memes.
Really?
Well, I registered it, but I haven't put up any memes yet. But I've made a few.
Seriously, I would vote for you for any office at any level. on this platform.
It gets a lot of traction. Whenever I bring this up, people are like, yeah.
Seriously, I really want you to do this for the sake of his sorrowful passion, for the sake of humanity. Okay. Actually, I think that should be the image for this episode.
Huh. Whoa, what's the image?
You looking presidential. So yeah, that was. I almost accidentally bit my girlfriend's jugular vein today.
Oh, you're practicing vampirism?
No, not vampirism. Just general like hickey giving, and
is that like a kink thing?
Well, hickey.
Where you
did you
drink
never?
Each other's blood?
No, did you never give somebody a hickey?
Yeah, in like middle school.
Yeah, so I mean that's a thing that people still do.
Okay. I don't miss it.
And anyway, it was a little disturbing, but also hilarious. And
excuse me.
Yeah, that's the thing. Excuse you. Maybe we can edit that out.
I meant to mute, but it came out too fast.
Oh, that's all right. So I think that. So here's a computer science question, and this is the last one. Is last thing that I've got is, well, other than mentioning that the ending isn't much of a cliffhanger. I mean, aside.
Yeah. What's going to happen next? They're going to beat Control somehow.
Well, what's gonna happen next is Burnham is gonna make a chess piece move on the board. I mean, like.
Oh yeah.
There was no direct cliffhanger. Though I will say before we swing past this last thought, that I agree with Zach Hanlon from the AV Club. Perpetual Infinity clicks largely because the big concepts it's trafficking in are contextualized by a very personal tragedy, quote unquote. I felt like, yeah, you're right. This was a great episode. I mean, this is definitely it's one of the better ones of the season. I wouldn't say it's one of the best ones of the season. There are a couple that go that like it's missing a coherent philosophical inquiry depth, and I had to watch this one 3 times to pull out what I got.
They were trying to do a lot of things.
They were trying to do a lot, yeah, and the emotional through line worked, but the technobabble. Well, I guess the technobabble was technobabble. Yeah. So an AI. There's in Places of Exile, the Star Trek Voyager novel that Christopher Bennett wrote. Very great book. The Doctor, because he's released from Voyager and he just has his mobile emitter, because Voyager is destroyed by by Species 8472 in this alternate universe novel, he becomes an artificial superintelligence that instantiates himself in multiple locations. So there are these remote versions of him, and what they do is they are continuously in subspace contact with one another to upload, integrate, and adapt in real time as a single distributed intelligence that incarnates as a unique intelligence wherever it's incarnated. And so I haven't gotten to the point of the novel with Julian Bashir where they explain this in enough detail for me to figure out a theory from that. But what I get the sense of from this is that there's multiple versions. And so there's the version that was on the Section 31 ship. There's the version that was on the space station. And then I imagine there's versions everywhere else. And hopefully this season ends with an affirmation of the truth of what was going on in that novel. by some eerie suggestion that the code is ubiquitous, that the code is everywhere. It's just that a certain robust formulation of the code was destroyed or eliminated. I really want the season to end on a really creepy note where the control that exists in that novel is affirmed as being in existence. And maybe even have a scene from that novel. Like, that would be really freaking cool. Bring back Alexander Siddig and have him be an older person and, you know, express that, like have that scene from that novel and maybe make it a precursor to selling the novel. I mean, I don't care. Just somehow tie in the novel and let us know that whatever happens in this season, control still exists. And yeah, that's it. That's my thinking about this episode.
I think that would be
anyway.
That would be very cool.
Yeah,
like control just exists at a sort of ambient level, but it can't gather enough, you know, energy in one place to take over like it's doing now.
Yeah, and I think maybe what they'll do is they'll find some way of eliminating the sphere data from all of the federations through some kind of a beneficent virus. Yeah. Which is a feat of programming. So we need a feat of programming, but we also need a feat of time travel, I feel like, in order to resolve a lot of things. And so it's not clear all of what's going to happen, but I'm curious. So anyway, I've been talking a lot, man. What's on your mind for this one?
I just think it's a cool idea that control is still around, but in a less virulent form, in the way that viruses are made not as dangerous when they're turned into the contents of vaccines. Like we need some way to actually immunize all the computer systems against the virulent form of control. It's going to take some clever programming. The only person who I can think of who would be clever enough to do it is Spock.
Yeah. I hope
so maybe the climactic scene is going to be Spock, like, you know, open up the terminal, like starting up the Python interpreter, starting to write functions.
That would be awesome. What else did you see in this episode, man? What have I missed?
Some great faces from Michael Burnham.
Some more Michael Burnham faces, yes.
That's all I got.
Really? That's it?
Yeah.
Well, this was fun. Fun episode. I don't think it's the best ever, but I think it's decent, solid, entertaining.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this episode. It got confusing. It should have been broken up a little different.
How would you have done it better?
Yeah, I was just thinking of that, and I don't know, but you know. I'm not a show writer.
I think I would have added more cowbell.
That's an option.
No, realistically speaking, it is in fact not an option. I mean, maybe.
The future's got a fever. It needs more cowbell.
So yeah, it's interesting that you and Tyler ended up sick at the same time. He had a fever yesterday, and and then yeah. Well, on that note, we shall conclude Perpetual Infinity. Which, by the way, I guess that's the last thing. I mean, Infinity is already perpetual. Or is it? Or is Perpetual just going one direction into the future?
It depends. You know, there's countable and uncountable infinity. There's different levels of infinity. Some are bigger than others. We'll leave that for next time. Next time we will go through Cantor's diagonalization argument that Aleph 1 is a larger infinity than Aleph null.
I don't think the writers care about that.
Well, our listeners do.
Our listeners
It's going to be explained in great detail next time.
Well, the real question is, does infinity plus 1 equal more